Ever get that weird feeling like you've totally been somewhere before, or like you just instantly clicked with someone you just met? Like maybe you've known them before.
Yeah.
We're taking a deep dive into something called past life portraits today.
Oh, interesting.
These things claim they can give us a peek into those unexplainable moments,
Yeah.
those random feelings we get sometimes.
That's a pretty fascinating idea. I mean, those feelings can be super intense, right?
Totally. It's like, where do they even come from? I've always been kind of fascinated by the idea that maybe, just maybe, our lives now are shaped by things that happened to us in past lives.
Right. It makes you wonder, like, what if our recurring dreams or those weird fears we have are actually echoes from a past life?
Exactly.
It's a pretty big what if.
I mean, there's no hard scientific proof about past lives or anything.
Yeah, that's true. But think about it. So many cultures and belief systems all over the world and throughout history have believed in reincarnation.
That's a good point. So even if we can't prove it scientifically,
Yeah.
maybe just the belief itself can help us understand ourselves better.
Absolutely. It's like a way to look deeper inside,
Yeah.
explore what motivates us, those patterns we have, and maybe even those hidden connections that are shaping our lives.
I like that. It's like a metaphor for figuring ourselves out.
Exactly.
So this past life portrait thing seems to tap into that. The source we're looking at says it can reveal all sorts of things about us, our fears, our strengths, even our leadership qualities.
Hmm. That's pretty interesting.
And it all supposedly comes from past lives.
It's wild how those claims often line up with stuff we all experience. Like, take the fear of heights, for example. A past life portrait might say that fear comes from, like, a traumatic fall in a past life.
Whoa, that's intense. But isn't there probably more scientific explanation for something like that?
Oh, for sure. Psychology and neurology can explain a lot about phobias, like how they develop from stuff we've learned, maybe a traumatic event we actually experienced, or even just our genes.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do we make sense of both of those ideas then? On one hand, you've got this past life portrait suggesting it's from a past life.
Yeah.
And then you've got science saying it's how our brains work and stuff.
It doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be both, right? Like they can both be true in their own way. Maybe they're each giving us a different piece of the puzzle.
I like that. It's like we're building up a picture of what's going on using all sorts of different ideas and beliefs.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dig a little deeper into what this past life portrait actually claims to tell us.
Sounds good.
One thing that really stands out is this idea of recognizing soulmates. Like that instant connection with someone that feels like you've known them forever.
Yeah, yeah.
The past life portrait suggests that this might come from a past life connection, like a bond that carried over to this life.
Interesting.
I bet a lot of people have felt that kind of instant connection, like you just know someone. But how would psychology explain that?
Well, psychologists might say it's things like shared values, or maybe going through similar experiences, or even these subconscious cues that trick us into feeling familiar with someone. It's a real feeling, no doubt about it. But what it means could depend on your beliefs.
So whether it's from a past life or just psychology, it's still a pretty powerful thing.
Oh, absolutely. It shows how complicated human connection can be, how we
Mm,
bond with people, the mysteries around love and attraction, all that.
for sure. Another claim about this past life portrait is that it can reveal hidden strengths and leadership qualities.
Right.
The idea is that maybe we developed those traits in past lifetimes. They even ask, could you have been royalty or a warrior in a past life?
I love that. It's such a captivating thought. It really gets your imagination going.
Right. Imagine all the skills and experiences we might have picked up over multiple lifetimes. It's like, could our potential in this life be shaped by all that?
It's an amazing thought.
It's like those stories about child prodigies, the kids who are just naturally brilliant at something.
Right.
Maybe they honed those skills in a past life.
Now that's a cool idea. But remember, even if we play with that idea, talent and skills are complicated things. Our genes, our environment, all the effort we put in, all that plays a role.
True.
So the past life portrait might hint at a natural ability, like you were meant to be good at something. But it's still up to us to develop those talents in this life.
So it's not like our path is already set in stone.
Not at all.
Right.
It's more about recognizing our potential and then working hard to make it happen in this life.
I see. So it's not about destiny. It's about realizing what we're capable of and going for it.
Exactly. It's about living in the present while keeping in mind that there might be things beyond our current understanding that are influencing us.
Okay. So we've talked about those weird feelings of familiarity, the soulmate idea, And this concept of hidden strengths and leadership qualities maybe coming from past lives. What else does this past life portrait claim to reveal?
One of the more intriguing claims is about your soul's journey and how it affects your path right now. It suggests that if we understood our past life experiences, we could get a much deeper understanding of why we do the things we do today, our motivations, desires, even our challenges.
Hmm. That's an interesting concept, but it feels kind of vague to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Can you explain that a little more?
Well, it's about seeing your life as part of a bigger story, a continuous thread that goes through multiple lifetimes. Imagine your soul is like this traveler going through different experiences and learning lessons along the way.
Okay, so each lifetime is like a chapter in the story of our soul.
Right. And even if we don't consciously remember those past chapters, they're still part of who we are today.
Hmm. I like that analogy. It's like, even if we don't remember our past lives, those experiences are still influencing us in subtle ways. Makes you
Exactly.
think about those times when you have a gut feeling about something, but you can't explain why.
Right.
Could that be our soul's wisdom guiding us based on what it learned in past lives?
That's a very interesting idea. And it gets at this concept that we're more than just our physical bodies. Maybe our souls have this deeper understanding of our purpose and where we're supposed to go in life.
This all ties back to that basic human desire for meaning and purpose. We all want to feel like our lives matter and we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
You got it. The past life portrait, even if we just think of it as a metaphor, can really tap into that desire. It gives us a way to think about our place in the universe and how our experiences across time are all connected.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the claims made about past life portraits and how they might be linked to our present lives.
Yeah, and we've talked about how there's no concrete proof and about looking at things from different angles.
Before we move on, I'm actually curious about how these portraits are even made. How do you get one?
Well, the source mentions a link, so I'm guessing it leads to a website or something where you can order one, but it's not super clear about how it works or how much it costs.
So it's a bit of a mystery for now.
Yeah. But for those who are intrigued, we'll definitely put the link in the show notes.
Perfect. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore those alternative explanations we touched on earlier. We'll look at the psychology of believing in these things, how déjà vu works in the brain, and how different cultures view past lives. It's going to be really interesting.
It is.
So stick around for part 2 as we keep exploring past lives and the mysteries of who we are. Welcome back to our deep dive into past lives and this whole past life portrait thing. Last time, we talked about the general concept and some of the claims, but now I want to know more about what this portrait actually reveals about someone.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to think about, right? Like, what could we learn about ourselves from a past life?
Totally. And I think a lot of people would be interested in uncovering those hidden talents.
Oh, absolutely. Who wouldn't want to know if they were like a super talented musician or something in a past life? It'd be amazing to find out.
Right. Like maybe some of those random interests or skills we have now actually have deeper roots.
It's a cool thought, but let's back up a bit. How does this past life portrait actually give you a picture of who you were in a past life?
Yeah, good question.
The source we're looking at says it can give you details about your past life experiences, like your strengths and your struggles. And it talks about understanding why we're drawn to certain places, people, even feelings.
So is it like a full-blown biography of your past life? Or is it more about getting a sense of the themes and energies that might be carrying over into this life?
It seems like it's more about recognizing those bigger patterns and connections. It's not like you'll get a specific name and job title from a past life.
Okay, so maybe not a complete historical record, but still potentially insightful.
Right.
So about those hidden talents, what kind of stuff does the source say the portrait might reveal?
It says it could uncover artistic talents, leadership qualities, even spiritual gifts that we might not even realize we have.
That's fascinating. But if it says someone was a brilliant artist in a past life, does that mean they're going to be a successful artist now?
Not necessarily. Remember, even if we buy into this whole past life thing, those influences are only one piece of the puzzle.
Right. You've still got your genes, your upbringing, the choices you make. All that plays a role too.
Exactly. The past life portrait might suggest you're naturally good at something, but you still got to put in the work to make it happen.
So it's more about recognizing your potential
Right.
and then using that knowledge to grow and develop those skills in this life.
Exactly. It's about self-discovery and growth, not a predetermined destiny.
I see. And what about that claim about leadership qualities? The thing about maybe being royalty or a warrior in a past life, what do you make of that?
Huh. That's the part that gets me every time. It's so fun to think about.
Right. Who wouldn't want to imagine themselves ruling a kingdom or leading an army?
Exactly. But we got to keep in mind that those are just possibilities, not guarantees. Even if this portrait says you were a leader in a past life, it doesn't mean you're going to be running things now.
Yeah, true. Back to reality. But even if we think about it metaphorically, what kind of insights could a past life of leadership give someone today?
It could help them understand their strengths, especially in areas like decision making, inspiring others, taking charge. Those qualities could still be super valuable now, even if they were developed in a past life.
So it's not about the specific title or position, but about the transferable skills and traits that might have carried over.
You got it. Maybe a past life as a warrior translates to resilience and determination today, even if you're not literally fighting battles.
I really like this idea of past life influences as a way to grow and discover more about yourself. It's like we have this hidden well of strength and wisdom that we can tap into.
Right, it's a powerful way to look at things. Instead of seeing past lives as something that controls our fate, we can see them as a source of inspiration and guidance for our lives now.
Okay, so we've talked about past life experiences, hidden talents, and leadership. Anything else this portrait claims to reveal?
Yeah, the source also highlights its potential to give us insight into our soul's journey, like how it's shaping our path in this life. It suggests that by understanding our past life experiences, we can understand our motivations, desires, and even our struggles better.
This whole soul's journey thing is really interesting, but I think we need to break it down a bit. What does it actually mean in the context of this past life portrait?
It's about seeing your life as part of a bigger story, a thread that runs through all your lifetimes. Like, imagine your soul is a traveler going on all these adventures and learning along the way.
So each lifetime is like a chapter in the ongoing story of our soul's evolution. And even if we don't remember those past chapters, they're still part of who we are now.
Exactly. It suggests that our souls have all this knowledge and experiences that shape our journey now, even if those memories are hidden somewhere in our subconscious.
It's like those moments when you have a strong gut feeling about something, but you have no idea why. Could that be our soul whispering to us, guiding us based on what it's already learned?
It's a cool thought, isn't it? And it plays into this idea that we're not just physical beings. Maybe our souls have a deeper understanding of our purpose and the path we're meant to take.
It all comes back to that basic human need to find meaning and purpose in our lives. We want to feel like we're part of something bigger than ourselves.
Totally. Even if we just view the past life portrait as a metaphor, it can still tap into that desire and help us understand our connection to something greater.
So even if we're a little skeptical, the whole concept of past lives can be a powerful tool for self-reflection and exploring those big questions about who we are and why we're here.
Absolutely. It encourages us to think outside the box of this one lifetime and consider the possibility of a soul that has grown and evolved through countless experiences.
I think we've done a great job unpacking the claims of the past life portrait, looking at the potential insights it could offer, and acknowledging that there's no solid evidence to back it up. But I think it's time to shift gears a bit and explore some of those alternative explanations we talked about before.
Yeah, let's dive into the science and psychology behind some of those experiences that people often attribute to past lives, like déjà vu and those unexplained fears.
I'm ready to ground ourselves in some science and explore those fascinating alternative perspectives. Welcome back to our deep dive into past lives. We've spent the last two parts talking about this past life portrait, those claims that it can reveal all these things from past lives, and the idea that even without hard proof, the whole belief in past lives can be a good way to think about ourselves.
Yeah, it's been fun to explore all those possibilities. But now it's time to get down to those alternative explanations we mentioned for some of the things people connect to past lives.
Exactly. Let's get into the science and psychology behind those experiences that make us wonder, like, is this a past life memory?
A perfect place to start is with déjà vu. You know, that strange feeling that you've been here before, even though you know you haven't.
Right. It's one of those things people often say is proof of past lives, but neuroscience has a different take on it. So what's really happening in our brains when we get that déjà vu feeling? Is it like a glitch in the matrix or something?
It might feel like that. But the research says it might actually be a little misfire in how our brain processes memories. Like the brain might be mixing up what's happening right now with a memory.
So it's like our brains are accidentally hitting replay on a memory that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, something like that. We still have a lot to learn about how memory and perception work, but this explanation from neuroscience is a pretty compelling alternative to the whole past life memory idea.
It makes you realize how amazing our brains are, even when they're kind of messing with us. Okay, what about those unexplained fears and phobias? The past life portrait says they could be from traumatic stuff in a past life. But psychology probably has a different take on that, right?
Right. Phobias, those super intense and often irrational fears are usually because of things we've learned or maybe trauma we went through in this life.
So, like, if someone had a bad experience with a dog when they were little, they might develop a fear of dogs later on.
Exactly. The brain makes this strong connection between the thing they're afraid of, in this case, dogs, and feelings of danger or fear. So it leads to this phobic response. It's like our survival instincts going a bit overboard.
Right. But what about those fears that seem to come out of nowhere? Like the ones you can't trace back to something that happened.
Those can be trickier. Sometimes phobias can come from a mix of our genes and things in our environment. Like someone might be genetically predisposed to anxiety, and then something stressful happens, and bam, a phobia pops up.
So it's not always a simple cause and effect.
Nope. And get this. Sometimes we can even develop phobias by watching other people freak out about something. Our brains pick up on those cues and just adopt those fears as our own.
Wow, that's wild. So many ways these fears can develop. It really shows how interconnected our biology, our experiences, and even the people around us are.
It does. And it's a good reminder to think about all these possible explanations before jumping to the conclusion that it's from a past life.
Okay, so we've got neuroscience explaining déjà vu and psychology explaining phobias. Anything else we should touch on before wrapping things up?
It's really important to remember that different cultures all over the world have their own beliefs and explanations for these things. We've been focused on Western science and psychology, but there are so many other ways of understanding these experiences.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. We need to broaden our perspective and look at those different cultural lenses.
Exactly. For example, some cultures might say déjà vu is ancestral spirits trying to communicate with us. Or they might interpret unexplained fears as signs of something being off balance energetically, or maybe karma from past actions.
It's amazing how all these different views can give us unique insights into what it means to be human. It shows that there isn't one right answer when it comes to understanding the mysteries of life.
Right. It's about being curious, but also being grounded in what we know about the world, and remembering that there are lots of ways to make sense of our experiences.
So we've explored a lot about past lives and this past life portrait, the claims, the lack of proof, other explanations, and even different cultural views.
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride, right? Hopefully, it's made you think about the mysteries of who we are and those potential connections that might go way beyond what we currently understand.
Absolutely. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Do you believe in past lives, or do you side more with the scientific explanations? Have you ever had an experience that made you wonder about past lives?
We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments.
And if you're super curious about the past life portrait and maybe even exploring your own past life possibilities, we've got a link to the website mentioned in the source material down below.
Whether you believe it or not, the journey of self-discovery is always an adventure.
Thanks for coming along on this deep dive with us. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.